the state of the game right now, and you've mentioned a little bit about the 40% decline in viewership.
Right.
Where is it going?
You have a duty that if they're wanting to see you, and as an entertainer, I want to show.
Stop the traveling, stop the carrying the ball, stop the moving screens, call the damn game according to the rule book, because players...
Something feels off about the NBA. The arenas are still packed, the players are more athletic than ever, and the league keeps printing money. Yet somehow fewer people are watching. Ratings keep falling, casual fans have checked out, and even diehards are starting to admit it. The NBA just doesn't hit the same anymore. What was once the most intense, dramatic league in sports has started to feel hollow. Games that used to feel like battles now look like exhibitions. Rivalries have faded, the fire is gone, and the regular season barely registers. The playoffs still draw attention, but even those numbers are slipping. Something essential has disappeared: the emotion, the storylines, the stakes. Scroll through social media and it's all the same step backs, the same highlight reels, the same celebrations with no soul behind them. Everyone's playing the same brand of basketball, polished but predictable, stripped of pride, personality, and consequence. Ask the legends who built this league and they'll tell you without hesitation, the NBA has lost its soul. This isn't about clinging to the past or resisting change. It's about a league that used to mean something, a league that once made you feel something, now struggling to capture that same spark. Magic Johnson doesn't mince words. To him, the NBA's decline began with 2 words: load management. In his era, stars played every night, no excuses. Fans bought tickets to see their heroes, and those heroes showed up ready for battle. Magic often says the bond between players and fans comes from showing up, from knowing your idol would fight for your city every single game.
Even for me, I love the NBA game, but then I turn on to a game, right? And then the stars are not playing because of load management. It's hurting the game. And I was with Michael Jordan, not last summer, summer before last. We ran into each other in Europe. And he says, Irvin, I don't know why these guys, because if you look at his record, he almost played every game like 5 or 6 times throughout his career. He didn't miss one game. He played in every game. We wanted to play in every game.
But things aren't the same anymore. Magic Johnson can't hide his frustration watching today's stars sit out perfectly healthy, all in the name of rest. To him, it's killing the league's rhythm, its credibility, and its very identity. Basketball, Magic says, is built on trust and repetition. When players pick and choose when to compete, that trust breaks. And so does the connection between the fans and the game. That it's not about hating the new generation. It's about holding the same standard that once defined greatness. Because if the best players aren't showing up when it counts, what are we even watching for? In Magic's eyes, that's when the NBA started losing its magic. Kendrick Perkins doesn't sugarcoat it either. To him, load management is the loudest proof that the league's mentality has changed, and not for the better. Perkins came from an era where you earned respect by playing through pain, by suiting up no matter what. Watching today's stars skip back-to-backs for rest, he calls it what it is, a joke.
Now, all of a sudden you got guys forcing their way out, and it's doing a disservice to the guys that's coming up underneath them.
And also the future of the game is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Because all the guys being available is what raised the ratings, which raised the money, which raised the salary cap, which raises the lifestyle.
So I was preaching when all this like Ben Simmons nonsense, wanting to get out of Philly, James Harden forcing his way out of Houston, and then forcing his way out of Brooklyn, and
then forcing his way out of Philly.
Exactly right. So I was like, the owners are going to be waiting on them at the front door.
But for Kendrick Perkins, it doesn't end with load management. He's been just as outspoken about another issue. The growing power players have to force their way out of teams the moment things stop going their way. In his eyes, that freedom has gone too far. Instead of pushing through adversity, stars now demand trades mid-season, form super teams overnight, or walk away from franchises that drafted and believed in them. Perkins argues that this mindset erodes loyalty, kills chemistry, and cheapens what team success used to mean. Fans don't get to watch dynasties build anymore. They just see rosters constantly reshuffled in search of shortcuts. Between load management and player empowerment, the league has created a culture of convenience. And when winning stops being hard, watching stops being special. Isaiah Thomas sees it from a different angle, but the conclusion is the same. For him, the NBA feels empty because the game has lost its balance. Basketball used to be a clash of styles. Speed versus strength, finesse versus grit. Now it's all the same. A three-point shootout with interchangeable teams playing the same brand of ball. Spread the floor, avoid contact, and fire from deep. To Isaiah, that sameness has drained the league of what made it beautiful. Its unpredictability, its personality, its soul.
You're watching teams miss. And what professional basketball, what we used to like to think of is guys who got open, they were shooting like, 52, 53% from the field, 47 at the worst. And guys who shot 39%, the coaches would tell them, you can't shoot. You gotta pass to somebody else. You gotta pass to the shooter. So I think the product needs to be better from a visual standpoint. And I think all the coaches need to.
Isaiah remembers when driving into the paint meant earning your points. You had to take the hits, get knocked down, and still come back for more. That physical battle didn't just decide games. It built rivalries, earned respect, and made every possession feel like it mattered. But with today's rule changes that reward offense and punish contact, Isaiah feels the essence of basketball has been watered down. The drama has faded. Nobody fears going inside anymore. Nobody defends like they used to. The grit, the fight, that once gave the game its soul has vanished. What used to be a war in the trenches has become a long-range exhibition. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the NBA's all-time leading scorer for nearly 40 years, sees the same decline through a different lens. He deeply respects the athleticism and skill of today's players, but he can't ignore what's missing. To Kareem, the league's obsession with the three-pointer hasn't just changed the game's style, it's erased its identity. The art of the post-up, the craft of footwork, the beauty of the inside game, all fading into history.
Talent level of NBA players, they're going to be forgetting a lot about the guys that played in my era and the earlier eras of the NBA because the talent level of the guys playing now has really risen. But they're not teaching the young kids how to score in the paint with their back to the basket, and therefore they don't. A lot of them don't get to learn the hook shot, and they don't get to realize that if you get close to the basket, a lot more of your shots will go in. They don't see.
Kareem often points out that the skyhook, the single most unstoppable move in basketball history, wouldn't even belong in today's game. Teams don't feed the post anymore. Centers, once the anchors of the paint, now drift beyond the three-point line, trading power for spacing. To Kareem, that shift isn't just tactical, it's symbolic. It represents the league's growing obsession with analytics over instinct. On paper, three-point efficiency makes sense. But in practice, it stripped the game of its variety, its beauty, its balance. In Kareem's eyes, the modern NBA has traded creativity for calculations. The post-up, once a graceful duel of strength, timing, and skill, has gone extinct. And with it, one of basketball's most elegant eras has disappeared. Then there's Michael Jordan, the ultimate competitor. He's never been shy about how he feels. Jordan has said he could never play in today's NBA, not because of the speed or the talent, but because of the mindset. For him, load management is the ultimate contradiction of what basketball stands for. In his era, playing every night wasn't a choice. It was a matter of pride, of identity. You showed up, no excuses. That was the standard.
You need it, first and foremost. I never wanted to miss a game because it was an opportunity to prove. It was something that I felt like, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy way up on top who probably worked his ass off to get a ticket.
Right.
You have a duty that if they're wanting to see you, and as an entertainer, I want to show, right? So if the guys are coming to watch me play, I don't want to miss that opportunity. Now, physically, if I can't do it, then I can't do it. But physically, if I can do it, and I just don't feel like doing it, that's a whole different lens.
The modern approach to rest has killed.
The modern obsession with rest, Jordan believes, has drained the fire out of the league. He's even joked that if he ever paid to see a superstar and that player sat out while perfectly healthy, he'd be furious. To him, skipping games when you're capable of playing isn't strategy, it's surrender. It shows a lack of competitiveness, a missing edge, the very trait that separates legends from everyone else. Jordan sees that mindset as the root of the NBA's decline. Too many players, he says, treat the game like a pleasure, not a privilege. He's not against change, evolution is part of progress. But when the league normalized avoiding competition, it lost what made basketball worth watching. Effort was never supposed to be optional. And then there's Jerry West, the logo himself. He's watched the game evolve for more than 6 decades, from its rough beginnings to its global fame. But when he looks at today's NBA, disappointment sets in. The league, he says, has become too soft, not just physically but mentally. The relentless drive that once defined the sport has faded. Players now seem more focused on image, influence, and relationships than on rivalry and winning. The intensity that once electrified every matchup has been replaced by something calmer, safer, and emptier.
That I the most dislike about today's game. If a team is getting beat by 25 points and you've got your star players sitting over there laughing on the sideline, if I was the executive running that team, that person would be in my office the next day. And I want to know what's so damn funny. It's not, this is serious.
Is this the team losing or the team winning?
The team losing.
So if they're laughing over there.
I don't like that at all. I think it shows a disrespect for the game and for people playing that. But if you watch the NBA, it has changed so much over the years. It's about entertainment. Dan, the rules are so relaxed, okay? They are just so...
The toughness that once forged great teams and fierce rivalries has been replaced by comfort, smiles, and highlight reels. Players joke around mid-game, swap jerseys afterward, and rarely take losses personally. It's not about wanting fights or cheap shots, it's about wanting players to care again. Jerry West often says that basketball used to demand toughness, not just the kind measured in bruises, but the kind that lived in the mind. Back then, every game felt like life or death on the court. Now, it feels like a business meeting in sneakers. And to him, that's exactly why the league feels lifeless. Charles Barkley has been saying the same thing for years. The death of the big man is the death of real basketball. The NBA's obsession with small ball lineups and the three-point shot has erased one of the sport's core identities. To Barkley, the game lost its balance the moment big men stopped posting up and started camping beyond the arc. What was once a battle of power and precision has become a contest of distance and percentages. Efficient, maybe, but empty.
Nowitzki, those guys are an anomaly, but I'm talking about big guys. But I don't understand why you would take your physical advantage away. Because number one, now big guys don't even get in foul trouble because they're out on the perimeter.
Watching 7-footers launch step-back jumpers instead of battling inside drives Charles Barkley crazy. In his eyes, the league used to be a beautiful balance of size, power, and skill. A game where giants dominated the paint and guards orchestrated the tempo. Now it's all about pace and space. Sure, it looks good on paper, but it's not the basketball fans fell in love with. Centers and power forwards once set the tone, controlling the paint, defining toughness, and dictating the rhythm of every game. Today, they're expected to play like guards, drifting to the perimeter instead of owning the post. To Barkley, the decline of the big man symbolizes everything wrong with the modern NBA. It's flashy but hollow. The fundamentals are gone. The battles inside are gone. And the art of post-dominance, the very craft that built legends, has become a relic of the past. Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters to ever touch a basketball, isn't against the three-pointer. He helped define its rise. But even he admits the league has gone too far. In Ray's eyes, the NBA's obsession with the long ball has erased one of basketball's most beautiful weapons, the mid-range jumper. The mid-range was where players separated themselves, where skill met instinct, where greatness lived in the space between. Now it's considered inefficient, and with that shift, an entire layer of the game's artistry has disappeared.
I think the game is still extremely entertaining. There is a lack of appeal to it right now watching it because there's so many different dynamics to the game that are being lost. I actually said this a couple of days ago on my Instagram feed, is that the mid-range game is being lost.
Ray often reminds people that the legends who built their names in that space between the arc and the paint, players like Jordan, Kobe, and himself, did it through mastery of detail. The mid-range wasn't just a shot. It was an art form built on footwork, timing, and reading defenses in real time. But analytics changed everything. Coaches began discouraging mid-range attempts altogether, and young players grew up believing it was the wrong play. To Ray, that shift didn't just alter strategy, it broke the game's rhythm. When you remove the mid-range, you remove balance. Every team starts to look the same. Every offense runs the same sets. The beauty of improvisation, of reacting, creating, feeling the game, disappears. The sport may have evolved, but somewhere along the way, it forgot its craft. Shaquille O'Neal has never been shy about his opinions, and when it comes to today's NBA, he's made one thing crystal clear: the league has gone soft. For Shaq, the decline of physicality and the disappearance of dominant big men are at the heart of why basketball doesn't feel the same anymore. Back in his era, every night was a war in the paint. Centers weren't just tall, they were enforcers. They set the tone, controlled the glass, and punished anyone brave enough to challenge them inside. Now, when Shaq watches the modern game, he sees 7-footers fading to the perimeter, settling for jumpers instead of asserting dominance. To him, that's not evolution, it's erosion.
He could dominate, and easily, because we have shifted away from physicality and shifted away from all that. Teams don't know how to play anymore. Like right now, teams are switching 1 to 5. I wish Spud Wade would have switched out on me. I wish Doc Rivers would have switched out on me. So if you get another guy that comes in, it'll be like it was back in the old day. There'll be one guy that you got to change your defense.
The physicality that once defined the game has been replaced by finesse and spacing. Shaquille O'Neal believes that when the league stopped rewarding inside dominance, it lost its backbone. There's no fear factor, no intimidation, no battle of power versus will. The balance between beauty and brutality is gone. With no real big men asserting themselves down low, the game feels lighter, emptier. In Shaq's words, big guys don't dominate anymore. They just exist. And when dominance disappears, so does greatness. Rick Barry, one of the sharpest basketball minds to ever play the game, sees another root of the league's decline: officiating. To him, the problem doesn't start with the players, it starts with the referees. Barry argues that today's officials have become inconsistent, overly protective, and far too influential on the outcome of games. The constant whistles, he says, have destroyed the natural flow of basketball, replacing instinct and rhythm with caution and interruption.
The rule book. Okay. Stop the traveling, stop the carrying the ball, stop the moving screens, call the damn game according to the rule book, because players will adjust. If you're going to allow them to get away with it, hell, of course I'll keep doing it. Call the game according to the rule book. It's such an advantage to let a guy carry the basketball or take an extra step. That's ridiculous.
Rick Barry is especially frustrated by how soft the game has become. What used to be a physical, hard-nosed sport is now filled with flops, exaggerated reactions, and unnecessary stoppages. Barry often says that referees call fouls today that never would have existed in his era. Contact that used to be considered just basketball is now flagged as a foul, sometimes even a flagrant. The league's attempt to make the game cleaner has ironically made it feel less authentic. For Barry, the deeper problem is credibility. Fans no longer fully trust what they're watching. Too many questionable calls. Too much star treatment. Not enough consistency. In his eyes, poor officiating hasn't just softened the game, it's broken its integrity. Patrick Ewing doesn't go so far as to call today's NBA dead. He simply says it's different. As one of the most dominant big men of the 1990s, Ewing understands the game's evolution better than most. But even he admits that the league he sees now barely resembles the one he played in. And it's not about blaming players or coaches, it's about how the league's priorities have shifted.
The game has changed, definitely, but you still need players to still do the same thing. I think I'd still...
Patrick Ewing has said that while he respects the skill of today's stars, he misses the fundamentals that once defined the sport: the footwork, the patience, and the clearly defined roles. For Ewing, the change isn't inherently bad, but it does explain why older fans and former players feel disconnected. The league traded identity for efficiency, and in that trade, much of the game's soul was lost. Still, Ewing doesn't believe the NBA is beyond saving. He believes it simply needs balance. A reminder that basketball isn't just about numbers or pace, but about emotion, toughness, and heart. Listen to the legends and a clear picture emerges. It's not one single issue that has drained the NBA, it's everything combined. Load management, soft officiating, the obsession with three-pointers, the lack of physicality, and the fading of genuine emotion. Together, these changes have created a league that looks polished but feels soulless. On paper, basketball is thriving. In practice, it feels hollow. The old-school players aren't just being nostalgic. They're defending a time when every game mattered, when rivalries were fierce, when stars didn't rest, didn't team up for shortcuts, and didn't plead with referees. They earned everything. Back then, the NBA wasn't just entertainment, it was a test of pride. And that pride, they believe, has vanished. Today's players are faster, stronger, and more skilled than ever. But many of the legends argue they're missing the most important ingredient: heart. The willingness to fight through pain, to compete even when it's inconvenient, to take every possession personally. Maybe the NBA isn't dead. Maybe it's just lost its identity. But if the soul of basketball is built on toughness, competition, and passion, the legends are right to be worried that no amount of highlights, viral moments, or social media spectacles can replace the feeling of watching players who truly care. The question now is simple: can today's NBA bring that feeling back? Or has the magic truly faded for good?